So at 22 years of eligibility, Foreigner finally made it to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I have no clue why it took this band so long to get in. They've got at least 5 rock anthems. If you get, I'm sure there's people on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame who has 1 rock anthem. They got about 5, maybe more. And I'm saying this because I'm not the biggest Foreigner fan. Like, I'm sure there's people who know their history inside and out way more than I do. But the hits that I know, they should be in, what is this? Feels Like the First Time, Cold as Ice, Double Vision, Hot Blooded, I Want to Know What Love Is. That's 5 great tracks. And I'm sure there's other tracks I haven't even mentioned. Okay, so Foreigner got in. They got in on the fan vote. The Rock Hall didn't induct them. The fans did. So this year, it was Dave Matthews Band. They was first, Peter Frampton, and I made videos about them, and Foreigner. And the only reason Foreigner came in third was because of Mark Ronson. Mark Ronson is the great producer of Amy Winehouse. Mark Ronson produced Uptown Funk with Bruno Mars. He's a fabulous producer, great guitar player, all that stuff. He is the son-in-law of Mick Jones. Mick Jones is one of the co-founders of Foreigner. Mick Jones said he's not going to be at the Rock Hall, which is crazy. Your son-in-law gets you in, and you're not showing up. That's a whole different story. So as a gift to his father-in-law, Mick Jones created this video that went viral, and he got Slash from Guns N' Roses to say why Foreigner should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Chad Smith, the drummer from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, he said why they should be in. New baby daddy Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters and Nirvana said why Foreigner should be in. But I think the guy who probably sealed it for them was Sir Paul McCartney. And in the video, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, Foreigner's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What the F? What the F? Shout out to Sir Paul. But yeah, what the F? It makes no sense. 22 years? Now listen, I get it. Bands like the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Nirvana, first ballad Hall of Famers. Those bands changed music. Those bands were major influences on people. You get why bands like that are first ballad Hall of Famers. But bands like Foreigner, who became an influence to people down the road. If rock people know how much, okay, they got a ton of fans in the rock industry. They're still on tour. They got a Vegas residence. They got classic hits. Okay, let's take a look at some of these hits. Okay, so I'm from the MTV generation, right? So if you're a kid and you don't listen to classic rock stations, right? Or you don't know very few rock songs, but you watch MTV. So you watch MTV in the mid-'80s. So if you want to see Michael Jackson or Prince, you are watching MTV. Well, wrapped in that is that when you see Michael Jackson, all of a sudden Foreigner pops up. And Foreigner drops I Want to Know What Love Is. One of the best rock ballads of all time. It's almost like rude to call it a rock ballad because it's really a gospel song because they have a gospel choir in it. And it's probably still their biggest songs of their career. Like, gospel choirs sing it all the time. I'm sure schools still sing it. Even little kids or even choruses in high schools probably still sing it. I Want to Know Love Is probably sang in different languages around the world. I Want to Know What Love Is. It has its own life force. So even on that song alone, they belong in Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because they made a song that's beyond iconic. That people might not know who sang it, but they know the song. There's gospel choirs who probably even know who Foreigner is, but they sang that song a bunch of times. So for that alone, they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But for me, I was a little bit different. I heard these songs and I knew maybe it was Foreigner, maybe it was not. Feels Like the First Time. He's there. Feels like the first time. Feels like the very first. I'm doing this because they came out in 77 and that's their first video. That's the first video they made was Feels Like the First Time. And Lou Gramm, who has one of the best vocals in rock history. He does not get enough love for those vocals. Those vocals, I made another video about this. He has those soulful vocals from the Motown 60s or Stack 60s where R&B infused rock guys. And they had a soulful tone in their voice that you don't hear today. So Feels Like the First Time was their first track. And in fact, I think I read they had 50 auditions for lead singer until they got the Lou Gramm. 50 auditions. I don't think they do that anymore. 50 auditions. And that's the first song. Cold as Ice. You're as cold as ice. Da-da-da. You're willing to sacrifice for our love. Come on, man. Double vision. Hot-blooded. Take it in the sea. I got a fever of 103. I shouldn't be singing these songs because I sing badly. And the reason I know these songs, back in college, I wrote for the student newspaper as a pop culture writer. But before that, I worked in the business side because I needed a job. And I was bad at it. But every day, those guys played WMMS, the classic rock station, Kid Leo and all that stuff. And every day, I was like, because I was a hip-hop and R&B kid, even though I like rock, but every day it was just classic rock for like 4 hours. Like, oh, but after a while, you start liking these songs and then you start realizing, oh, I know this song. And after a while, I started piecing together, man, all these songs are Foreigner. I like these songs for years. I had no idea. The funny thing about that job is that I had the job for a semester and I went away. We all went away for Christmas break and we had this board that had all our names on it for our assignments. And I came back and I noticed the board, my name wasn't on the board. And I said, John, I don't see my name. And it felt like a scene out of Office Space where the guy said, yeah, buddy, we need to talk. I got fired. And I did. But I was horrible at it. I'm definitely a writer on the other side. I had no business being in business on the business side of newspapers. But yeah, man, so I got inundated by so much classic rock music, but especially Foreigner. They are great. Lou Gramm is great. That band is great. The harmonies of that band is great. 1977, they were using like synths a little bit and rock guitars and things that we would see later in the 80s, like from Journey or REO Speedwagon. They were doing this in 1977. I don't know if there was any band during that time span who actually sounded like Foreigner. They look like Led Zeppelin, but they weren't Led Zeppelin. They were probably influenced by Led Zeppelin, but they had their own thing. They're a great band. And I don't even understand from a rock, classic rock side. I don't know how they had to wait for 22 years. Right now, even as I speak, there is a classic rock station who's playing Feels Like the First Time, Cold as Ice, Double Vision, Hot-Blooded, I Want to Know What Love Is. Some classic rock station right now is playing these songs, sometimes for the second time, and maybe they play it again later, 3 hours later, 4 hours later. They were great, man. They were great. So congratulations to Foreigner. I'm glad you're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Lou Gramm, who left the band a couple of times, he'll be at the Rock Hall with the group. But again, Elliot, one of the co-founders, and Mick Jones will not be there. It's like, dude, 22 years, man, and your son-in-law, Mark Ronson. Listen, Mick Jones could do whatever he wants. He's a grown-ass man. He has more money than I do. But I just feel like if your son-in-law went through this effort to get you in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I know I think he had an issue with the Rock Hall. Something about the spouses weren't allowed to walk with them on the red carpet. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm trying to piece this thing together. Okay, he might be ticked at the Rock Hall, but your son-in-law did you a great service, man. He didn't have to do this. He has his own career. He could say, hey, man, I love you, the dad-in-law, but I got my own music career to worry about. He did this out of the goodness of his heart. The least you can do is show up. But at least Lou Gramm is there. And I bet you, even Lou Gramm is like 74 years old. He's a far better singer than some of these cats today. The funny thing about Lou Gramm is, just the way he looks, he wouldn't make it today. They would never, even with that voice, they wouldn't sign him today. Today, in no offense to this guy, he's talented. You gotta look like Benson Boone. Benson Boone is a talented singer, young guy. He might be pivoting music back to pop guys, the guys again, because it's been very female heavy. So he might be shifting it back to the guys again. But Benson Boone looks like a guy that could be in a Ryan Murphy show. He's like he should be on American Horror Story because he's a really good guy. And that's the problem with music today. They go too much on looks and likes and shares and how a person looks than how great they are. And Lou Gramm and Foreigner are great. If you haven't listened to these songs, the songs I mentioned, listen to them. Tell me what's your favorite Foreigner song. And tell me what's your favorite Foreigner album. Because I want to know what love is. And I want you to show me. So good.